You wake up on a reed mat. The air's so thin your lungs burn, surrounded by the sound of shell trumpets echoing across water and stone. Welcome to Tenochtitlan, capital of the Aztec Empire, where your modern skills are worthless and every single thing you know about survival is wrong. The next 24 hours, this city will test you in ways that make medieval Europe look like a spa retreat. Hour 0 to 3, and the altitude hits you like a sledgehammer. Tenochtitlan sits at 7,350 feet above sea level, which is basically Denver but without the oxygen bars and medical facilities. Your body starts rebelling immediately. That simple walk to find water feels like running a marathon. The UV radiation up here is 10% stronger than at sea level, and there's no sunscreen in sight. Within an hour, you're already getting cooked by the sun while gasping for air like a fish on dry land. At least you're not in the Maya lowlands, where the humidity would be drowning you while jaguars stalk the edges of the city. But this altitude's its own special hell. But hey, at least there's water everywhere, right? Wrong. The city's built on a lake, sure. But you have no idea which canals carry drinking water from the Chapultepec aqueduct and which ones are basically sewage highways for thousands of canoes. Take a sip from the wrong ditch and congratulations. You've just given yourself a case of Montezuma's revenge before Montezuma was even a thing. The Mexica engineered an incredible water system with causeways, canals, and flood control levees, but knowing which water is safe requires local knowledge you don't have. Speaking of getting around, forget everything you know about transportation. No horses, no carts, no wheels used for transport. Just canoes and human porters called tlamema who carry everything on their backs. Want to get somewhere? Better know how to negotiate canoe passage in Nahuatl, which you don't speak, using currency you don't have, following etiquette rules you've never heard of. Otherwise, you're walking miles on stone causeways under that high-altitude sun, slowly dehydrating while your sunburn reaches lobster levels. By hour 1 to 5, you realize you're in one of the largest cities on Earth at this time. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people packed into a space connected by causeways and canals. The Spanish compared it to Venice when they first saw it, except Venice didn't have pyramid temples that scrape the sky. Every local can tell you're an outsider immediately. You stick out like someone wearing a Halloween costume to a black-tie dinner, and that attention isn't friendly curiosity, it's suspicion. Look around and you'll see the famous chinampas, those so-called floating gardens that are actually raised fields anchored in the lake bed. These things are agricultural engineering at its finest, producing multiple harvests per year to feed this massive population. The willow trees making their edges create a maze of productive land that looks peaceful until you realize every square foot belongs to someone, is tracked by someone, and is protected by someone. You can't just grab a snack. Everything here's counted, taxed, and part of the tribute system that keeps the empire running. Hour 5 to 8 brings you to Tlatelolco market, where your economic ignorance becomes fatal. This isn't some quaint farmer's market where you can charm your way to free samples. On major market days, tens of thousands of people pack this space to trade everything from obsidian blades to live turkeys. The Spanish conquistador Cortez wrote that he'd never seen anything like it, and he traveled pretty extensively. The market has specialized judges walking around, porters with specific territorial rights, and inspectors checking weights and measures. Here's where things get really bad for you. There's no money as you know it. No coins, no bills, nothing. Small purchases use cocoa beans as currency. Yes, chocolate is money, and people check each bean to make sure it's real because counterfeiting was a thing. Hollow out a cocoa bean, fill it with dirt, and you've committed a crime punishable by the market court. Bigger purchases use cotton cloaks called quachli as standard units of value. You have neither cocoa nor cloaks, which means you can't buy anything. The Mayans use cocoa, along with jade beads and quetzal feathers, but at least their market police in cities like Tikal might give you time to figure things out before hauling you away. The justice system here is swift and harsh. Local Tecayi tribunals handle everyday crime. Tlachtitlan courts deal with nobles and warriors, and they don't mess around with lengthy trials. Steal something, cheat someone, cause a disturbance, and judgment comes fast. For you, an outsider with no family clan or community backing, the penalties are worse. The Empire has a regulated slavery system where criminals can be sentenced to servitude, and guess who makes the perfect candidate for that? A weird stranger who doesn't know the rules and has nobody to vouch for them. Hours 6 to 9 teaches you that your clothes are literally criminal. The Mexica have strict sumptuary laws, which means what you wear broadcasts your social rank, and wearing the wrong thing is illegal. Only nobles can wear cotton. Commoners wear rougher maguey fiber from the agave plant. Sandals are forbidden in certain places. Cloaks can only be certain lengths depending on your status. Featherwork and specific decorations are reserved for warriors and elites. Show up in your modern cotton t-shirt and jeans with rubber-soled shoes, and you're basically wearing a sign that says "Arrest me." These aren't fashion guidelines, they're codified laws with real punishments. Hour 7 to 10 introduces you to the food, which sounds great until you realize how many ways it can go wrong. The diet here is maize, beans, squash, amaranth, chia, and lots of chili peppers. Turkey and dog are the main meats, with deer for special occasions. Insects like chapulines, which are grasshoppers, are a protein source. The elite drink chocolate, but it's nothing like your sweet hot cocoa. It's bitter, sometimes mixed with chili, and drinking it wrong marks you as either presumptuous or ignorant. But here's the real problem. The maize needs to be processed through nixtamalization, where it's soaked and cooked in an alkaline solution, usually lime water. This process is crucial because it releases niacin and adds calcium, making the corn actually nutritious. Without it, you'd eventually get pellagra, a disease that causes the 4 Ds: diarrhea, dermatitis, dementia, and death. You don't know this process, and even if you did, you don't have access to the materials or equipment. Then there's alcohol, which exists as pulque, also called actli, made from fermented maguey sap. But drinking isn't casual here. Public drunkenness is severely punished, especially for anyone who isn't an elder. The Codex Mendoza shows the penalties, and they're not pretty. Young people caught drunk face corporal punishment or worse. Elders get more leeway, having earned the right to drink through age and service. You, obvious outsider of unknown age and status, taking a drink at the wrong time or place, have just committed a serious crime that everyone around you recognizes immediately. Hour 6 to 12 hammers home your biggest problem. You don't speak Nahuatl. This isn't just inconvenient, it's catastrophic. The market has standardized calls for different goods. Religious ceremonies have precise formulaic phrases. Legal proceedings use specific terminology. You can't ask permission to enter a temple precinct. You can't explain what kalpali or neighborhood clan unit you belong to because you don't belong to any. You can't justify why you're wearing forbidden clothing or carrying strange objects. Even if you do Maya hieroglyphs from down south, they wouldn't help you here, as Nahuatl uses a completely different system of pictographs and phonetic elements. When guards or officials question you and you stand there mute or babbling in a language they don't recognize, you're not just confused, you're suspicious. The Mexica use their Pochteca merchants as intelligence gatherers in frontier zones, so they know all about spies and infiltrators. A stranger with no linguistic ties, no clan identification, and no explanation for their presence isn't a curiosity, they're a threat to be contained. Hour 10 to 14 reveals that you've stumbled into a world run by calendars you can't read. The Mexica use 2 interlocking calendar systems. First is a solar calendar with 365 days divided into 18 months of 20 days each, plus 5 unlucky days called Nemontemi at the end. Second is the 260-day ritual calendar called Tonopopali that determines lucky and unlucky days for everything from planting crops to waging war. The Maya had their nearly identical calendar systems, their Hab and Solcan, proving that if you can't handle one Mesoamerican calendar, you can't handle any of them. Every single day has specific requirements. Certain days demand fasting, others require offerings. Some forbid specific activities. During the Nemontemi, those 5 unlucky days, people avoid important business, don't light new fires, and children born then are considered doomed. Religious festivals called Ventanas happen throughout the year, each with mandatory participation. Miss neighborhood sweeps during Opanitzli, step into a sacred space wearing sandals on the wrong day, eat the wrong food during a fast. You're not just rude, you're cosmologically disruptive, disturbing the balance between the human and divine worlds. Hour 12 to 15 shows you're physically outmatched by everyone, even the teenagers. The Mexica run universal education, and it's nothing like your school experience. Boys attend either Topolchali for commoners, where they learn warfare, discipline, and practical skills, or Kalmakak for nobles, where they study governments, ritual, and priestly duties. Girls receive instruction in household management, weaving, and ceremonial roles. But here's what matters. Everyone, regardless of class, is trained for hardship. Students regularly undergo pain endurance training. They're pricked with maguey thorns, exposed to cold, made to fast, and taught to ignore physical discomfort. Military training is standard for boys, including practice with the atlatl spear thrower, bows, and the mahuahuitl, that obsidian-edged sword club that can decapitate a horse in one swing, according to Spanish accounts. These kids are tougher than most modern adults, and you're the softest person in any crowd you join. Hour 12 to 18 brings you face-to-face with the legal system's teeth. The Tecali courts handle local disputes. The Tenochtitlan serves nobles and hears appeals. Punishments are public and exemplary, designed to reinforce social order through fear. Theft can mean slavery or death depending on the value and circumstances. Adultery brings execution, but for you, the sumptuary violations alone could be fatal. Those clothing rules aren't suggestions. Wear cotton when you're not entitled, sport noble insignia without the rank, put sandals on in sacred spaces, and you're advertising deliberate rebellion against the social order. As a rootless outsider with no community to intervene, no family to pay fines, no patron to appeal for mercy, you face the harshest possible penalties. Hour 14 to 20 reminds you that this is a military state where everyone is a potential warrior. The empire runs on tribute extracted through threat and periodic warfare. Even in peacetime, you see Tlatelolco youth drilling with weapons, warriors marked by their captive counts wearing jaguar and eagle costumes, and the ever-present reminder that conflict can erupt based on calendar cycles and tribute demands. The weapons are deceptively simple but devastatingly effective. The Tlatelolco launches darts with the force of a bullet. The Macuahuitl obsidian blades are sharper than surgical steel, capable of inflicting wounds that modern surgeons would struggle to close. Warriors wear Ixcahuipali, quilted cotton armor that's surprisingly effective against projectiles while staying light enough for the mobile warfare the Mexica prefer. But here's what makes it worse for you. Mexica warfare focuses on capturing enemies alive, not killing them. Dead enemies bring no glory. Living captives can be displayed, ransomed, enslaved, or sacrificed, and each captive taken raises a warrior's status. You, unarmed, unarmored, obviously foreign and completely untrained, are the equivalent of a walking promotion for any warrior who grabs you. And they're all looking to grab someone. The Maya had similar ideas about capture over killing, but they'd at least ransom nobles back, while the Mexica have other plans for you entirely. Hours 18 to 22 forces you to confront the skull rack, and no, it's not a metaphor or Spanish propaganda. The Huizompantli beside the Templo Mayor is real, and archaeologists have extracted it. We're talking about a tower of hundreds of skulls, including women and children, mortared together for display. This isn't ancient history or mythology to the people around you, it's current practice. The academic debate isn't whether human sacrifice happened, it's about scale. Spanish accounts claim thousands were killed during major temple dedications. Modern scholars think those numbers are inflated, but even conservative estimates accept thousands of sacrificial deaths per year across the empire. The archaeological evidence is undeniable. The practice is real, publicly visible, and integrated into the religious calendar. The Maya practiced sacrifice too, but they preferred drowning victims in cenotes or ritual bloodletting by nobles, while the Mexica made it a public spectacle on temple tops. For you, this means every religious festival, every ceremonial day, every temple precinct you accidentally wander into becomes a potential death trap. Criminals, captives, and slaves from the pool of sacrificial victims. You've already broken multiple laws, have no community protection, and are obviously foreign. In a society that believes cosmic balance requires feeding the gods with human blood, you're not just vulnerable, you're practically pre-selected. Hour 20 to 24 shows that night offers no safety. Temples maintain round-the-clock rituals with conch-shell trumpets marking the watches, incense bearers making rounds, and priests conducting ceremonies. Young nobles in the Kalmakak schools stay up performing religious duties. Neighborhood watches patrol for thieves and curfew breakers. The night belongs to those who know their ritual roles and territorial boundaries, neither of which includes you. Loiter near a temple and guards assume you're a thief or a spy. Enter a sacred precinct and you've committed sacrilege. Try to sleep in a public space and you're a vagrant. The city doesn't have hotels or inns as you know them. Visitors stay with family, guild members, or trading partners, all relationships you don't have. By dawn, every mistake you've made is about to compound into a cascade of consequences. Let's track how your day realistically falls apart. Hour 0 to 2, you arrive on the southern causeway already struggling with altitude. You wander into a temple courtyard, forgetting to remove your sandals because you don't know it's a sacred space. A priest shouts at you in Nahuatl. You don't respond correctly because you don't understand. Guards escort you out roughly. You're now marked as a potential troublemaker. Hour 3 to 6, desperate for water, you drink from a canal that looks clean but carries runoff from the market district. The sun, intensified by altitude, has already burned your exposed skin bright red. Some locals celebrating a calendar feast you don't recognize offer you pulque. Grateful and thirsty, you drink too much too fast. In a society where age and status strictly determine alcohol consumption rights, you've just committed a visible crime. Market officials take note of the drunk, sunburned stranger. Hour 6 to 10 brings disaster at Tlatelolco market. Without coca beans or cotton cloaks, you try to trade your watch or phone or whatever impossible object you're carrying. The vendor calls for a market judge, knowing something's wrong. You panic and try to leave, which makes you look guilty. In a system where market courts operate right on the plaza, you're detained within minutes. Now you're not just strange, you're a suspected thief or fraud. Hour 12 to 16 seals your fate in court. Witnesses report seeing you wearing cotton clothing, which marks a legal status assumption. Others saw you drunk at a festival where you had no ceremonial role. The market incident confirms you're a troublemaker. Without a calpuli to speak for you, without tribute records showing your place in society, without even the ability to explain yourself, the court has limited options. Enslavement is actually the lenient sentence. But your obvious foreign nature and the timing of your arrival make you interesting for another purpose. Hour 18 to 24 delivers the final judgment. The city needs sacrificial victims for an upcoming festival. The regular supply includes war captives and serious criminals, but ritual requirements are specific about numbers and types. You're perfect. Foreign enough to count as an enemy, criminal enough to justify selection, and isolated enough that nobody will object. They march you to a holding area near the Templo Mayor. The priests prepare through the night, burning copal incense, chanting prayers, marking ritual time with trumpet calls. You're painted, dressed in ceremonial garments that mock the divine while you're marked as an offering. At dawn, they lead you up the temple steps, and here's where we don't need dramatic speculation because archaeology tells the story. The Huizompantli exist. The skull racks are real. The obsidian knives are in museums. The stone altars still show the channels carved for blood drainage. This isn't a society being randomly cruel. It's a highly organized state where religion, economics, politics, and daily life interconnect in ways that make perfect internal sense. The tribute system funds the state. The military enforces the tribute. The calendar organizes the military campaign. The religion justifies the calendar. The sacrifices maintain the religion. Every piece connects to every other piece, and you don't fit anywhere in the machine. The altitude and UV exposure destroy your physical capacity from the start. The market system excludes you economically. The language barrier makes you legally mute. The sumptuary laws make your existence illegal. The calendar system makes your behavior sacrilegious. The educational system means even children are more capable than you. The military culture makes you a walking target. The religious framework makes you a solution to ritual requirements. Your modern knowledge is worthless here. You can't explain germs to justify boiling water when they already have elaborate purification rituals. You can't introduce the wheel for transport when the city's built on water and lacks draft animals. Can't suggest agriculture improvements to chinampas that already outproduce European farms by factors of 4 or 5. Can't propose military tactics to people who've perfected capture-based warfare. And you can't reform a legal system that efficiently maintains order for hundreds of thousands of people. Even if you could communicate, your ideas would seem not just foreign, but insane. Imagine trying to explain democracy to people whose universe literally depends on proper hierarchy, or individual rights to a society where your calpuli determines your identity, or atheism to people who can point to the sun and correctly note that without it, everyone dies, so feeding it blood to keep it moving makes more sense than your vague notion of gravity and nuclear fusion that you probably can't even properly explain. The Mexica Empire at its height was one of the most sophisticated civilizations on Earth, with urban planning that surpassed European cities, agricultural techniques that supported massive populations, and organizational systems that managed resources across diverse ecological zones from coast to mountains. It worked precisely because everyone knew their role, followed the rules, and contributed to the collective system. You don't, can't, and won't. So here's the truth about your 24 hours in the Aztec Empire. You wouldn't last because you're not equipped for a world where every action has cosmic significance. Every object has ritual meaning, and every person has a predetermined place. The Empire wasn't waiting for your modern insights or dying for your technological knowledge. It was a complete functional system that would process you like a foreign object in a body, which is exactly what you'd be. If you're still determined to time travel to Tenochtitlan, at least learn basic Nahuatl, memorize the calendar festivals, wear maguey fiber like the commoner you'd be, and bring genuine cocoa beans that can pass inspection. Even then, you're probably not making it past day 2, but hey, at least you get to see those chinampas up close before everything goes wrong.